Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days in 5 minutes. Brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, your superstore for winter and spring products now as we're making the transition over into the new season. They are at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. The telephone number is 631-756-1125. If you still need some salt or sand or pellet dough or mag ice pellets and flakes, they got it. And they've got topsoil, mulch, gravel, whatever you need to make your yard look great come this spring. So head over there or give them a call. The website is omnitruevalue.com. A little bit of a nice day here, which is great after your last night's round of severe weather. We are seeing some sunshine. We also are seeing colder temperatures, and we're seeing moisture that is beginning to move out of Texas and across the Gulf states, and that's going to be lifting up the East Coast for tomorrow. We're going to have a little bit of the white stuff to deal with in many places, some places more than others. And of course, given the time of year and the fact that we have just marginal cold air around, it makes the forecast for accumulations a bit tricky. But I think there are a few variables here that we can kind of solidify for tomorrow as far as what we'll get with accumulation. And then we're also going to be keeping our eyes on more energy coming into the northwest because that's going to set off a second and much more important storm for Saturday. And we'll come back to that in a moment. The radar at the moment showing not too much going on in the northeast other than maybe a little bit of light snow that's coming off the lakes and heading down into the Catskills and also up into northern New England. Otherwise, the radars are quiet. We've got a few rain showers developing here across Alabama and back over into parts of Georgia, also into Louisiana and Texas, and that's all part of that Gulf moisture moving to the east and up to the north in the Rockies and back up into the Pacific Northwest. You're seeing moisture there, and that is with the next weather system that, as we just mentioned, will be part of the equation for the weekend. So let's look at what WPC is saying for tomorrow. This is the probability of at least 2 inches, and we have some of the guidance models giving numbers from 2 to 3 inches of accumulation to even 6 or 7 inch amounts. Here's the issue for tomorrow. Actually, there are a couple of issues. We don't have any real cold air. It's marginal cold air at best. We're also still above freezing, and we're probably only going to maybe get to the freezing mark in places tomorrow morning for a couple of hours and then kind of go back up because of the strengthening March sun, the sun angle, and this time around, yes, we have a warm ground. So I'm thinking that most accumulations from eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England are going to wind up being on unpaved surfaces, cold surfaces, and not on paved roads, particularly as you head down toward the coast. In elevated areas, however, especially with elevations above, say, 750 or 1,000 feet, there I think you could wind up with some road accumulation. And you can see that the probability here in the blue, the darkest blue, is representing at least a 40% chance of at least 2. And that's well up to the north and west. Along the coast here, you're seeing low probabilities of under 20% for at least 2. And I kind of go along with this. I'm thinking that for most of the area that I cover, it's really a coating to a couple of inches, and it'll be on cold surfaces. So you'll be able to get around without any difficulty. This is all going to be happening during the day tomorrow also, which is a big plus, because if it were a nighttime situation, we probably would be dealing with a different story. I also want to go to Saturday here. This is the WPC's probability of at least, let's call it at least 3 inches. And they do have a fairly wide swath of 30 to 50% in the darker green and 50 to 70% in the darker blue showing up in our zone. They have the coast down up at 10 to 30, and inland of the coast we go to 30 to 50 and 50 to 70. So I think there's a fairly good chance that we could see rain changing over to a brief period of heavy snow in eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. And then we're going to be dealing with very, very strong winds, which ultimately I think that is going to be the bigger issue. As far as rainfall is concerned over the next 7 days, as we take a look at that latest forecast, which was issued earlier this morning, Big rains being indicated for southern Georgia, coastal South Carolina to the Florida Panhandle, on the order of 3 to 4 inches in some places, and also a bit of a swath of an inch and a half to 3 inches across areas from central Mississippi through northern Georgia, and into the western Carolinas. Precip here in the northeast, anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a quarter. That combines the two systems, tomorrow and Saturday. And up in the Pacific Northwest, we're seeing some big rains being indicated there, and some heavier snows as we work our way inland. As far as severe weather risk is concerned for today, a small area of slight risk in southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, and a very small portion of the Florida Panhandle. And for tomorrow, we are looking at a slight risk of severe weather over the Florida Panhandle, southern Georgia, and into South Carolina, with marginal risk extending up into North Carolina. So that's with, again, that system for tomorrow. So let's take a look at the latest run of the GFS here. We've got this high overhead today. The rest of the day is fine. We'll cloud up tonight. Look for some rain and wet snow mixed. I think the GFS is actually a little bit too warm as opposed to the European, which I think is a little bit too cold. But you can see tomorrow morning there's snow, there's rain in southern New Jersey, there's rain down into Delaware and Virginia, there's snow up through Pennsylvania and in through upstate New York. Low pressure moves out to the northeast. We'll get it out of the way. This is pretty much a 7 a.m. In most places, it's pretty much, say, a 5 to 7 a.m. start to a 5 to 7 p.m. finish. Then that goes out. We'll be dry on Thursday. I think we're going to be dry on Friday, probably in the 50s on Friday. And then here comes the energy with the next storm. You see that low in North Georgia, moving up into eastern Virginia. There's not a whole lot of rain ahead of it, but we will get some during Saturday morning until we get a sharp wind shift as the low goes up into New England and really begins to strengthen. And most of the models are showing an area of snow here on the backside that goes down into Virginia, into eastern Virginia. And I think there could even be some heavier snows, certainly in upstate New York and on up into Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine out of this as the low really winds up. And then the wind really kicks in Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. I'm thinking that we're going to be at the very least in wind advisory criteria, and probably even some high wind warnings out of this, because this low gets very deep as it moves up into northern Maine. And we're probably still going to have some wind to deal with early Sunday morning before the wind begins to maybe ease a bit during Sunday afternoon. So I guess Sunday will be the better of the 2 weekend days. Saturday, we're going to be dealing with this, what will become a major storm as it moves up the coast very quickly and on up into New England. It's going to be a bit of a powerhouse. And this, by the way, will be followed by some very cold air for a couple of days. That cold air will extend all the way down into the southeast and into Florida. But then after that, this might be the last shot that we'll see of significant cold air and winter weather from what I'm looking at in the longer range. We're going to warm up fairly quickly as we head into Tuesday. Weak front goes by, not a whole lot of cold air behind that. And then there doesn't seem to be anything of consequence here as we move through the latter part of next week. So that's at least an early glimpse of what the long range looks like. Weather in 5 is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. The Joe and Joe Weather Show tonight at 7:30. We'll go through all of this on what is a busy weather week, and that's at 7:30 Eastern Time on my YouTube channel, Joe Cioffi. So join in the fun. We'll see you tonight at 7:30.